Coming up on today's episode, a WWE star requested to leave WWE, WWE wrestlers have been pulled from Super Showdown, and we've got a recap of last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Stacked News and Stacked Review. I am Chopper Pete Quinnell with a Dance Chopper t-shirt now. Get yours at WrestleTalkmerch.com. To kick things off today, let's get into a recap of last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown in about 5 minutes. The show kicked off with a big old love fest between the Usos and the New Day, who were complimenting each other, saying how great they both are, but also threw in a couple of teases of another match between the two teams, which would be a fun match, no doubt, but also I'd much rather Miz and Morrison win the belts at Super Showdown, and then they face the Usos after. Speaking of Miz and Morrison, they come out and attempt to get over a purposefully convoluted catchphrase and chant before Rude and Ziggler join the party, and we've got ourselves an 8-man tag match, players. The match itself was a pretty standard affair, with the babyfaces getting in all the spots you know and love, and after delivering an awful lot of super kicks, the Usos pick up the win by pinning Robert Roode. During the match and a couple of extra times through the show, the glitches made a return, but even more so this week, with an email symbol or a text message symbol? Is this a hacker? Is this the person who sent Otis a text message saying Mandy was running late when she wasn't? Drew Gulak accosts Daniel Bryan backstage next, saying there's some holes in his game plan. Even in the match he dominated against Heath Slater. Slater, who also happens to be there, says he wants a rematch tonight, and Bryan accepts, telling Gulak he should help Slater. Up next was a recap package of the most heartbreaking story in the history of the world, Otis and Mandy Rose's Valentine's date, before Dolph Ziggler got in the way. Tucker then approaches Mandy and Sonya backstage and lays into Mandy Rose, saying she hurt his friend and he's the sweetest person he knows. Mandy says she didn't mean to hurt Otis, she just bumped into Dolph after Otis didn't show up. Tucker rightfully responds by saying, then why did you text him saying you were running late? But Mandy says she doesn't know anything about the text message. Someone sent the message off Mandy's phone, and I think I know who it is. After Tucker walks away, Sonya Deville says that Dolph Ziggler is more Mandy's type anyway. It was Sonya. It was Sonya all along. She's the mastermind. My theory was right. This story is great. Lacey Evans had an interview with Renee Young next, which added precisely 0 layers to her character, and she says that Sasha and Bayley are bullies, and that she didn't like losing to bullies at Royal Rumble, and that she's pretty good or something or other. This was really bland and really didn't further her character or a feud at all. After that, it's time for a Symphony of Destruction match, which, just in case you need reminding, is a Falls Count Anywhere match, but with musical instruments around the ring, but also they still do normal tags in a no DQ match. Okay. This was stupid slapstick nonsense, which got quite fun by the end, although it did look like Shinsuke got seriously hurt on the final spot. Strowman powerslammed Shinsuke onto a piano off the commentary table, with the piano bending on impact. Shinsuke immediately grabbed his head, and after being pinned, you could see blood pouring from it. Ouch. Fingers crossed he's okay. That looks like that could be Concussion City for Shinsuke. Corbin cut a backstage promo next, which is every Corbin promo you've ever heard about Roman Reigns, with absolutely nothing new thrown in. Woohoo! Alexa Bliss hosted a Moment of Bliss next, where she ran through the Hall of Fame class of 2020 so far, before introducing the newest inductees, the Bella Twins. They both came out on stage and said some stuff about the Bella Army and how happy they were to be there in their hometown, etc, etc, etc. You get the gist. The Bella Twins are going in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, I guess. After the segment is over, Daniel Bryan comes out with his daughter, hands her off to Brie, and then makes his way to the ring for his match with Heath Slater. Heath gets a surprising amount of offense in this match, with Gulak on commentary reminding him of Bryan's weak points. Slater makes the mistake of going to the top rope though, which Gulak did not advise, and Bryan dodges the splash, takes control, and wins with the running knee. Is this the start of a Bryan-Gulak feud? I mean, I think that could be great, but Gulak is going to have to be presented as more than a comedy goof for it to work. Mandy Rose is backstage next, waiting to leave the arena. Dolph Ziggler Ziggler walks in and says he can give her a lift, and she accepts. After they leave together, Otis comes out from behind a crate looking very disheveled and depressed. Poor Otis, my heart breaks for you. Sheamus is back, cutting a promo in a dark room next. This time though, he enters himself into the Elimination Chamber. Thank God the feud with Shorty G is seemingly over. But wait, Apollo Crews is watching that promo backstage in the locker room, and he is not happy. Shorty G comes in and tries to give him a pep talk. Hey man, it's okay, last week was bad, but we can bounce back because we're great. Before Apollo cuts him off and says he doesn't need a pep talk, Gable can handle Sheamus in his own way, and he can handle Sheamus in his own way. Is this the turn we've all been waiting for? Is Apollo Crews finally getting a character? We'll have to wait and see. Up next was Naomi versus Carmella for the #1 contendership for Bayley's SmackDown Women's Championship at Super Showdown. That was a lot of words. In what turned out to be a pretty sloppy looking match, which is a shame because both of them are pretty solid in-ring workers. A few botches aside though, the finish was nice, with a split-legged moonsault for the victory for Naomi. Naomi versus Bayley is happening at Super Showdown. And finally on SmackDown, Goldberg finally made an actual appearance, in person and not via satellite. He calls out The Fiend and a Firefly Funhouse interrupts. Bray says he has some friends that want to meet Goldberg, culminating with The Fiend himself, who appears in the ring. Goldberg is not fazed by The Fiend and spears him. The Fiend then vanishes from the ring, and that's how the show ends. The interaction between Goldberg and The Fiend is a weird one, and sometimes a complete styles clash can really work in a feud's favor, but in this case, it just comes off weird and forced. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought of it by pressing the eye above my head and voting in the poll, where you can choose from Smacknificent, Smacktastic, Smack Bang in the Middle, Smackdowner, and a Smack in the Face. This show was perfectly average. It built a couple of stories, the Otis stuff continues to be great, the matches were a mixed bag, but overall, am I really more excited for Super Showdown? Not really. So this gets a smack bang in the middle, I think. Before we get into the news today, I wanted to do a quick announcement for our revamped channel that used to be Screenstalker, now called Parts Funknown. Yes, that is the actual name, and yes, it was pitched after we'd had a few pints already. If you head over there now, link in the description, Adam Blompier's fantasy booking videos will make their home over there, with the first one being how he would book Kurt Angle's illegitimate son. We'll have all sorts of cool wrestling content over there while keeping the news and reviews right here on WrestleTalk. So if you want a bit more high quality, high production, informative and fun wrestling content, give PFK a subscribe by clicking the link in the description right now. And now, hot tag to me for the news. A quick thank you to all Mania Club members except for Demario North for being an awesome pledgehammer on Patreon. What with AEW being birthed into the world, Saudi Arabian travel struggles, and 1,000 stars asking to leave, with Mike Kanellis being 990 of those stars, WWE management will struggle to say that the past year has been all smooth and easy. We know the likes of Jon Moxley, Luke Harper, The Revival, Sin Cara, and others either asked to leave or let their contracts run out, with most doing this successfully. But it's been revealed that another former main roster star also requested to leave the company in 2019. Former Fashion Police star and my fashion icon Tyler Breeze spoke to Chris Van Vliet recently about not only at one point wanting to leave WWE, but also feeling like he should stop wrestling altogether. Breeze said, "I was like, I don't think I want to wrestle anymore. Like, I don't think I want to. I kind of had a conversation like, if you don't need me, I'm good to go. I don't need to be here." It kind of got turned into, okay, we don't really want to see you go, so let's make this work. I mean, that's when I made the transition down to NXT, and it kind of started to reinvigorate me a little bit. I went to a couple of schools around Orlando to kind of try and get the juices flowing again because I was getting really disheartened. I started to realize that wrestling wasn't the problem. Wrestling's awesome. It's just like when you're in a certain spot and when you get in a certain mindset, it's hard to kick out of that. And I was just in that mindset and I was just getting angry and bitter, and I realized that wrestling is not the problem. While Breeze has never been a feature of anything other than Raw or SmackDown's undercard or jobber scene, he proved in his first run in NXT how talented he is, even being the only man ever to have a match with Jushin Thunder Liger in a WWE ring. Since returning to NXT, it's clear that Breeze has got his mojo back and is once again proving to the world what a commodity he is. While there is certainly no kind of confirmation that Breeze would have jumped ship to AEW, it's no wonder WWE was so keen to keep him on its books, with everyone else and their mum some asking to be released at the time. Next week, WWE heads to Saudi Arabia for everyone's 19th favorite show of the year, Super Showdown. Old men will wrestle, the crowd will weirdly be into rest holds, and the build to WrestleMania and Elimination Chamber will be royally messed up. It seems that every show in Saudi Arabia has seen fewer and fewer stars traveling to the country for a variety of reasons, not limited to being of Syrian descent, having distasteful tattoos, not wanting it to ruin your Hollywood career, and just not fancying airplane food. While several stars now refuse to go, WWE has still managed to take the vast majority of its male roster to the shows, and as we now know, one women's match seems to have been agreed for each show going forwards. However, according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, next week's show will have the smallest amount of stars attending than in any in the past. WWE has its Super Showdown card on the 27th of February in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Far less talent than in the past is being brought. We don't know a list of those who refused to go after the last trip. The key names that hadn't gone for various reasons, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Kevin Owens, and Aleister Black, are not booked on this show. Of those who had publicly or less privately made remarks regarding the last show, both Rusev and Andrade are listed on this one, but others are not. Considering what happened at Crown Jewel on October 31st last year, with talent being stranded in Saudi Arabia for unconfirmed issues at the airport, and forcing WWE's hand into an NXT invasion, perhaps this is being done as a precaution, so if something similar does happen again, they still have enough talent to put on a SmackDown show the following day. Or perhaps there's loads more talent that just don't want to go to Saudi Arabia given the events that happened at Crown Jewel last year. But no doubt Vince McMahon will be booking 5 flights and 10 Ubers for every star that goes there. Thankfully for Vince, John Cena has been booked for that Friday SmackDown, and Cena could probably carry the show with an entire 2-hour chorus of "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." A top WWE star has been injured. Press the video to the right to find out more, and the video below that to find out more about an ex-WWE star being backstage at AEW. A special thank you to our pledge hammers on Patreon, some of whom you see scrolling below me right now. And make sure to give a subscribe to Parts Fun Known, and watch Adam's first fantasy booking video over there too. I've been Chopper Pete Quinnell, and that was wrestling.